Yep, it's live now.
All right. Hello, good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone to the Sexual Harassment and Higher Education Forum. My name is Hussein. I am a second year computer science student at the University of Malaya. Hopefully today I'll be moderating this event alongside my classmate Hanina. Would you like to introduce yourself, Hanina? Go ahead. Hello. I think Hanina is
Yeah.
having internet issues. All right, we'll get back to Hanina. I'm very excited today to kick off the online forum. We've been planning for this, me and my classmates, to have this online forum about sexual harassment. As we all know, sexual harassment is a taboo issue that happens a lot in our communities all over the world, but we never get educated
Hello?
about it. No one ever talks about it. It's kind of always hid under the rug. So hopefully by the end of today, a lot of us will be educated about this matter. A lot of us maybe will have an awakening on what to do and the resources that we need in order to help out the people in need. And maybe like the people who are watching this, some of them are suffering with sexual harassment. So perhaps we can help those people as well. Without further ado, let's introduce our special speakers. First of all, Ms. Lillian Cook. Ms. Lillian is actually the program officer at AWAM. She's in charge of the Sexual Harassment Awareness and Prevention, SHAP. And we are very honored to have her today to educate us and help us all about the movement of sexual harassment. Hello, Lillian. How are you?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Hussein. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on a Saturday. I just want to bring it up, right? So our program is called Sexual Harassment Awareness, Redress and Prevention. So it's SHARP, SHARP, like a sharp object. So our goal here today is to like slice through the details and the things about sexual harassment and slice through the core of why it happens. And hopefully, this will enable everybody to uh, better safeguard their community. In not only in your schools, yeah, like if you're staying in your hostels or if you're staying outside the hostels, but keeping a safe space around you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good speech. Thank you, Miss Lillian. So, above me here, I'll be introducing. Here is Miss Marina. Hi, Miss Marina. so, she will be represent. She is the UM Student Union of the our faculty representative. She's also a UMSU executive member, and she is also the UMSU Student Affairs Portfolio in the in the unit of Women, International, and Differently Abled Students. Hey, hello, hello, Miss Marina. Are you here with me? Miss Marina is having a connection problem, so
It's all right.
yeah, so no worries. So I'm just saying that for today, while waiting for Miss Marina to be back, Miss Marina will be a representative of how we students see sexual harassment as. Okay.
Marina's back.
Okay, hi Miss Marina, you're back. Yeah, so I was just saying that no worries. So I was just explaining to our audience that today Miss Marina will be representing us students in how sexual harassment is actually affecting us in students term. So Miss Marina, would you say something about yourself?
Hi guys,
Hello?
my name is Marina binti Muhammad Ilyas. People call me Marina Mel. I'm the student representative for FSKTM. Tech News is an
Marina's experiencing
acronym
internet.
Yeah. Right.
of Kaiwa Pelajar Antarabangsa
Sorry, Miss Marina, we actually
Siswi
can't
dan
hear you.
OKU.
Yeah, your voice is breaking up.
Yeah, so
You can
Okay, let's move on.
Oh, okay.
yeah, let's move on for now, and then perhaps we can come back to that. I'd like to ask Ms. Lillian actually, uh, because a lot of people, including me, before starting this, I didn't know about AWAM, and a lot of people watching this probably don't know as well. So could you tell us about AWAM and the whole organization, everything about it? Your mic
Hello,
is
Miss
muted,
Lillian.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Your
mic
mic is
is
muted.
mute.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, okay, sure. AWAM has been established since 1985. So I'm not surprised if any of you have not heard of it because it's definitely older than all of you today. Maybe not
Yeah.
your lecturers. Yeah, it's even older than myself, right? And I'm not that young. But anyway, so AWAM envisions an all person and all inclusive people organizations where in particularly we focus our work towards women in hopes that women will be treated with respect and free from all forms of violence and discrimination in our everyday lives, right? So it's not just at home, it's at work, it's in the public spaces. And in AWAM, we strongly believe that having inclusion, participatory, and empowering organization structure. So it's our focus is on women, but we always welcome participation from all walks of society, including men as well. So for today's talk about sexual harassment, we hope that there will be a good number of guys who are attending because sexual harassment is not a female problem. Gender-based violence is not a female problem. It's called gender-based violence, right? So it happens to male as well. It's just that we don't talk about it as often. So let's try to change that today, shall we?
Yes.
And so what we have been doing for the past 35 years is um, we do programs, we do outreach programs like what I'm doing right now, and we are also get involved with we are very heavily involved with advocacy work. One of the things that we done before this was to help the government to pass on the Domestic Violence Act in Malaysia, which made Malaysia the first country in Asia Pacific to have a law specifically on domestic violence. So AWAM was a part of that. And right now, fast forward to 2020, we are advocating for for the standalone sexual harassment bill in Malaysia, as you guys may know. And uh, I must say, I must thank all the Wagga University Malaya for supporting AWAM in the advocacy activity for to pass the sexual harassment bill. I think there was a petition that went around some of your classmates, some of your friends, and then we got a lot of signatures from University Malaya alone. So we would like to thank you guys on that. And aside from that, we also provide services. We have a free services where we provide free counseling and free uh, not legal advice, but legal information. Okay, so those are all free. You can call us at 016-237-4221. I'll probably write the number down somewhere later. So yeah, that's what we do.
Thank you. I hope that everyone watching this doesn't just listen to this and let it go. This is actually really important. AWAM, on top of everything they do, they provide free counseling services and legal information. This is very helpful to young people, especially who maybe don't know their rights and they don't know where to go for help. This is very, very helpful. So you can reach out to AWAM. I'd like to also ask Ms. Marina. I know that as a woman, you're constantly working, you're doing all of this. So, why was it important for you to be involved in this? What was the motivation to
The
be involved?
motivation.
Yes.
Well, few years back, I wouldn't see myself advocating for sexual harassment. Is just recently, that last year when I decided to contest for campus election under the constituent of my faculty, which is Computer Science and Information Technology faculty. And surprisingly, I won. And ever since that, I've been involving in office duties, and I was placed under the portfolio of student affairs. So basically, I was in charge in student affairs of international students, the histories, meaning female students in UM, also the PWDs, which is students with this. And from there, I work, and it somehow sparked an interest in me that I need to champion these issues for these marginalized students. So hence why since there's this famous news about the sexual harassment case last year in UM that has happened, that everyone urged me to actually take up sexual harassment and actually focus in and dive in more on how we can make the campus a more safety environment for everyone to live in. Yeah, so that's my drive. The community is my drive.
Very well said.
That's a very good review. Yeah. Okay. We'll be moving on to the next section of what our forum will
I
be.
actually
Is
have one more question before we move on.
okay.
Yeah, for Miss Lillian, right? So earlier you mentioned that you want by the end of this to make people understand that sexual harassment is not just for females, it also happens for men as well. We just don't talk about it. So for today, right, like by the end of this, what is the impact that you want from this? How do you want this to impact people?
Okay, so first and foremost, we want people to be a good support system. That's the most important thing. I am not going to talk to you. I'm not going to tell you about the details of sexual harassment. What is sexual harassment? This and that. These kind of things. I'm sure you guys are smarter than that. But there's a little bit things that you guys might find surprising today, maybe. Yeah. But what is important is we change our mindsets about how we view survivors of sexual harassment. We change our perception about how we view the perpetrators of sexual harassment, because it can be anyone. Anybody can be a survivor, anybody can be a perpetrator, but most importantly, how can we support these survivors? How can we support survivors of sexual harassment? Because you need to understand that unlike other sexual offenses, sexual harassment is very subtle. It's very subtle. It's almost a misdemeanor, and most of the time, people just want it to stop. It's just an annoyance. But there is right now, currently in Malaysia, there is no real scale, or there is no real black and white area on how we deal with it. So nobody really knows how to handle it. And then there is this lack of sensitivity that we have um, when it comes to survivors of sexual crimes. I mean, somehow in Malaysia, victim blaming is a very big thing, because victim blaming allows us to feel safe about ourselves. I know, right? So yeah, so we will
Yeah.
try to explore that, and hopefully by the end of our forum today, everybody will be a little bit more open, a little bit more. Sorry, what I meant to say is a little bit more open to be supportive of someone who is a survivor of sexual harassment or any other sexual crimes, which is very difficult to report or to find a method of redress. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. Sure. Okay. Um. Okay. So this uh. Okay. Since there was AWAM have done a survey, right? During
Yeah.
the past
Yeah.
sexual harassment forum. So can I ask for a
Yes.
survey on the slides? Yeah. So
Sure,
would
but
like.
before we do that, before
Okay.
we start that, I would actually like to I would like our participants today to do a little poll, right? I just want to find
Yay.
out what the public perception is, because you heard what I think about sexual harassment. You heard what Marina feels that she needs to achieve, but I want to know how you guys really think, right? So I think on the link on screen, the can someone just publish the Mentimeter page or something, so
Yes,
people can go to it? Yeah. So we have a little online poll for for you guys to do it, right? I think it's on the link somewhere. I can't see it actually, but
you guys can type it in YouTube. On the YouTube comments, it should be there.
okay, all right, okay. So it's on the YouTube comments. Go to our polls. Just answer the question. Um, what okay the question is pretty much girls, what do you bring with you before you go out of the house, and for guys, what do you bring with you before you go out of the house? So if you feel like while you're playing with your phone, listening to me, because you guys need to today, because I think you guys have a free certificate, right? Go on the poll, and then just answer the questions, and maybe we'll have a little fun with that. Okay. Okay, so now back to the survey you were saying, right? Okay. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can definitely. Okay, cool. All right, so we did this survey with university. Actually, we did this survey throughout Malaysia. It's an online survey. It started in January until November 2020, and uh, we have about in total 505 participants in that poll, right? So out of that, 156 are from University Malaya. So 156 students from University Malaya actually took part in our poll. And out of 156, next please. Okay, out of 156, 46.8, okay, or 73 participants have experienced sexual harassment. So that is more than half. Almost, sorry, not more than half. That is
Almost.
almost half, right? Isn't that a
Yes.
disturbing thought?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we
Actually.
did, yeah. So what we did was we separated the responses between men and women. So if you guys would like, we will just go through that very quickly, right? Next slide, please. Okay, so these 58 out of 119. So just now we mentioned that the total participants is 156, right? So out of 156, 119 are girls, and out of the 119 girls, 58 of them were sexually harassed. Okay, and typically, yes, the first question here: what was the perpetrator's gender? Majority are male, but there is a representation for female as well. So it does reinforce the fact that most survivors of sexual harassment are female, and most perpetrators are male. But however, uh, we are not going to focus on the obvious today, right? So we are also going to recognize that there are female perpetrators as well. So perpetrators of sexual harassment can be anyone. Okay, it's not only necessarily men, and it's not necessarily about sex, although the nature of it is a sexual conduct that makes you feel uncomfortable. But people do that for other reasons, okay, and we'll get into those reasons later. Okay, now what is scary is 82.8% did not report the harassment, and then 90%
Yeah.
did not. Yeah. So the next one also, they didn't report to the police. They did not report the harassment, and 3 out of the 48 people who did not report, they are still being harassed right now. They are still they're still victims actually. So there's really nothing much that people can do. So we went to find out why as well, right? So next slide, please. Wait, hold on. No, let's hold on. Yeah. So wait. Okay, yeah, next slide. So as you can see, okay, majority of harassers happen, the harassers are strangers. So pretty much you can feel that sexual harassment happens a lot for students, for this is youth, right, in public spaces. So as much as we like to believe, as you can see here, college mates, is quite low, but it's still the second, it's still there, right? And we believe that this is because this is due to underreporting. Nobody reports whatever that happens within the university space. We believe that. Because if you look at the other data, right, like where were you sexually harassed? Schools and university is the second one, the second highest one. So it doesn't really jive well with who in opposed to where. So if it happens a lot in schools, why is it not you know, how come the most obvious harassers in that environment it does not tally, right? So you have to consider a little bit about underreporting as well. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, no, next slide, please. Okay, so these are the boys. Okay, 37 boys responded and 15 were harassed. So that's also almost half, right? And if you look at the data, it is very, very interesting because the perpetrator's gender, the majority, I mean, uh, the biggest scale of the perpetrator is males. So now we are looking at boys harassing boys, which is which you think that it's a bit weird, it's a bit strange, but like I said before, sexual harassment is not necessarily about sex. I'm sorry, someone is very noisy. Someone's there's a traffic outside there. Someone is sitting near traffic and I can't hear. No, it's not the slide.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah.
Lillian.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'll mute my.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry because all I hear was the traffic. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, no. The slide is fine. Let's go back to the boys one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I want to talk about this, right? So most of the perpetrators for male survivors are male as well. So it really, really like burns down the common misconception that uh that sexual harassment happens between the opposite sex. It does not happen. Males do it towards males, and females do it towards males as well. Again, like I said, this is sexual harassment happens mostly because of power disparity. So sometimes boys do it to boys because they can, and with boys, right? I don't know why you guys think that it's funny. Sometimes you all think that it's you guys like to normalize certain behaviors, and that is the double-edged sword of patriarchy. You normalize certain behaviors, and then when it happens, you you do not allow men to voice out and speak up because of this normalization, right? Okay, so again, same. Boys don't report, of course, and I think I just explained that just now, right? About patriarchy being a double-edged sword and not empowering men to make report or to stand for their rights. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Okay, this is fine. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah, this is what I want to talk about. Okay, as you can see for boys, right? What's funny, what I find very interesting is they don't report that they are being harassed in the public space. So what does that tell you? That tells you that in the public sphere, men are safer. men have a safer space in public. Men would feel safer being out in public rather than women. However, they are being harassed in schools and in outings. When we talk about outings, we're talking about trips with friends. So with sexual harassment and men, it's a little bit more intimate. Therefore, we feel this is why they find it a little bit harder to report. And also, the continuation of normalization towards sexual harassment, because it always happens among your peers, right? Okay. And next slide, please. I think that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. So that is our findings with University Malaya. We actually gave a full report to the student union. So if you guys are interested, maybe you can contact Marina and find out the full detail
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the question that I was going to ask Marina. So, Marina, what do you think about the survey that is done by AWAM? Is it actually very severe? Do you think that the sexual harassment cases between students of University Malaya is actually that severe?
Definitely. I'm how to say, in this era where everything is going so fast and um, people are, we have a lot of societal problems. So I guess cases or statistics for sexual harassment has definitely gone up. So it is a problem that we need to address fast, and it is critical. Yes, correct.
Yeah, thank you for the input, Marina. So, Hussein?
Thank you, Marina. Very well said. For Ms. Lillian, so regarding sexual harassment actions such as catcalling, for example, a lot of the perpetrators, they actually they in their head, it's not something that is sexual harassment. They think it's just, oh, it's for fun, it's funny. I'm just talking, that's it. And the females or the victims in general in that situation can't really sit on a moral ground and they can't communicate. So how do you make the perpetrators in those situations understand that what they're doing is wrong and actually hurtful?
Okay. All right. So I would like to again emphasize that sexual harassment is an act. It's sorry, what is that word? It's an unwanted conduct of a sexual nature perceived by the recipient as hostile, offensive, degrading, humiliating, or a threat to his or her well-being. The Can someone, if possible, can just switch to slide 23? You can just like skip forward. So anyway, oh yeah, there we go. Slide 23. Yeah. So to answer your question, right, it is up to how the recipient perceives. Um, so sorry, can we go to the next slide? I've already explained this one, so let's go. Yeah. So okay. So these are the type of typical types of harassment that we have, right? We have the physical, we have visual, we have verbal, we have non-verbal, and then we have online, and we have psychological. You can just keep pressing it. It will eventually, the stuff will come out. There we go. All right. So again, catcalling, things like catcalling, things like physical harassment, like a hit, like a slap in the bum, or maybe like even a picture. A picture that you think is funny, but maybe your friend might not think is funny. Your friend might think is offensive. This all, as you said, right? Who said it comes down to consent. If you are okay with it, if you can accept it, then that's fine. Then we don't have an issue. We wouldn't be talking about this today. But it becomes a problem, like I said, if you feel uncomfortable with it, and what can you do about it? You need to speak up. However, it's easier said than done about speaking up, right? So I'm not going to tell you today to stand up and speak up and everything. If you feel uncomfortable about something, uh you don't keep quiet. Whatever it is, don't keep quiet. If you can't speak out, you can't shut up, it's okay. Don't keep quiet. You can just push it away. You can stop and stare at the person that
Yeah.
catcalls you, or or I don't want to encourage this, but maybe you can, like, show him a certain sign to tell this person to stop or anything. But whatever it is, right? You cannot keep quiet, because keeping quiet is consent. I I don't know how to stress this enough. But at the same time, right? Speaking up is not easy, especially when you're in an environment like the university or tertiary education environment where the power dynamics is so strong. It's not only between you and your lecturers, it's also like between you and a friend who has better grades than you, maybe. Yeah, so there's the power dynamics.
Oh.
Yeah, so the what was I going to say? Yeah, so even among your peers, right? Even among your peers, you have a power disparity. People who are smarter than you, people who are richer than you, drives a better car than you, wears better shoe than you, nicer hair than you. You will feel somewhere on the scale. So you will allow that to happen. You will allow things like sexual harassment to happen. So what you do is, if you can't speak up, just don't keep quiet. Just don't keep quiet.
Very well
Right?
said.
That's
Very well
yeah.
said. I hope that the people watching take heed into everything you said, because I feel like a lot of people, especially who aren't into the social issues, who don't read that much, they think, oh, sexual harassment is just physical and that's it. I hope that
Ah,
people who
yeah.
just listen to this actually realize, no, verbal, non-verbal, as you can see, it can also happen online. All of this falls under the umbrella of sexual harassment.
Yeah. I would also like to emphasize on the screen here, if you can see what psychological harassment is, right? Okay, so psychological harassment is pretty much the first step towards stalking behavior. It's not exactly stalking, because the difference between this and stalking is repeated, right? So psychological sexual harassment is something that our community romanticize and normalize. And I'm not just talking about the Malaysians, okay? I'm not talking about the Malaysian Chinese, what we watch in our Chinese drama, or Malay drama, our Tamil drama, even wherever you come from, Hussein, all your love stories and everything, there's always this guy who is so persistent. This girl says no, he goes he goes to the house, she says no. He goes to the workplace, she says no. He goes to the grandmother's house, she says no. But what do we perceive as the audience? Oh wow, this guy never
So
gives up. He doesn't give up. That's true love. Oh my god, this is the kind of love I want to have. No, no, if you're not comfortable, that's a problem. Yeah, you do not let it escalate. If you're not comfortable, you have to be very, very clear. Okay, you have to be very clear that you are not comfortable with this behavior. You want it to stop, and you will take legal action towards it if it doesn't stop. And how do we do that? Later we'll get into it lah. Yes, so psychological harassment happens a lot, especially with young people. Even with people my age as well. Why not, right? But it is very subtle. It is very subtle. It's almost unrecognizable. But it does create anxiety, because when you see the person, you go like, "Oh my god!" Or if you know this person is always hanging out somewhere. Let's say if in a workplace, right? This guy is always asking you out, or this girl is always asking you out, and then when you go to work the next morning, you kind of like, oh my god, I'm gonna see this person. So what does it do to you already, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that we watch too many dramas.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yes.
Yeah, I think that is one of the reason why this is happening. All right, so I would like to ask Marina. So since usually people say that sexual harassment is say verbal, physical, non-verbal, and stuff. Since we are students, we are having our online learning. Do you say that actually sexual harassment can actually happen online during maybe our class or maybe during group assignments? Do you think that it actually exists?
Of course, definitely. Right, like what Lillian has justified just now, sexual harassment can come in many types of forms, and with online learning, online distance learning in place right now, I think the most obvious sexual harassment can come in the form of online, which is maybe your friend sending you nudes that you find that it's very disturbing and you're uncomfortable with it, or maybe through texting, he or her might have said something that caused you really of a discomfort in how the person's react or behave through texting or online. So those are the obvious online forms of sexual harassment.
Can I add on? Can I add on to what Marina said? Yeah. So AWAM has also seen an increase in online sexual harassment due to the MCO. So we completely give credit to the whole COVID thing for the increase of online harassment, because what happens is like people are bored and people are brave. You are very brave when you are sitting behind a screen. Yeah, and also our laws allow that because it is very difficult to track uh, the harassers. So difficult. You can just open like a fake account or anything. It doesn't even have to be real or what, and then just go lah, harass whoever you want, send pictures of whoever you want and everything. No one's gonna say anything, right? So uh that is why we see a rise in online sexual harassment in the past year, I would say.
All right, thank you. I also have one last question when it comes to the definition of sexual harassment. So, when it comes to people or victims who experience sexual harassment, but they don't have proof of the incident, what can they do?
Yeah. Okay, that is a very, very, very good question. Okay, that's the problem. Before I answer your question, I also want to tell you that that is the problem why sexual harassment is so underreported. So underreported because, uh, because as you say, the laws we have at the moment emphasizes on the burden of proof. We have 6 legal legislation that kind of covers sexual harassment. Yeah, um, we have the Penal Code, we have the Employment Act, and then we have the Tort of Sexual Harassment, or in Bahasa Malaysia, the Saman Gangguan Sexual. And then we have the Communications and Multimedia Acts, and then we have the Code of Prevention on the Code of Practice and Prevention and Eradication of Sexual Harassment in the Workplace, and then we have the Public Service Department Circular. Now, among all of these laws, right, only 3 apply to you guys, and one of it, most likely, most of you can't afford it. So, I'm sorry to say, nowadays, right, students have more money than people who work. So who am I to say, right? But anyway, the penal code is the most accessible right now to the public. However, it criminalizes sexual harassment. So sometimes, when your friend does something, you not a friend, okay, just someone, your perpetrator does something, right? We like to put in the context of a workplace. Let's say my colleague does something to me, and then I go and make a police report. Now, because it's criminalized, right, what's going to happen? This friend of mine is going to go into jail. Do you think I want that to happen? Just for I'm not going to normalize it, but just for saying something to me, yes, lose his job, go to jail. Most of the time, right, survivors of sexual harassment just want the act to stop. They just want it to stop. They don't want the perpetrator to go to jail. They don't want the perpetrator to be fined heftily. But that is the current laws right now at the moment. Okay, and burden of proof as well. Sexual harassment often happens in a closed space. So very, very, very seldom you are able to get witnesses to assist you. And of course, it's very ridiculous that if someone touches you and then you go and tell him, hey, bro, can you touch me again so I can take evidence of you touching me? You know, it doesn't make sense. So how can you prove it? So this is why AWAM is advocating for the standalone sexual harassment bill, because we want to be able to address sexual harassment in a more holistic way and accessible for everybody. So instead of the burden of proof, we want to deal with sexual harassment on the balance of probability. Okay, I'm not going to go into detail what balance of probability is. You guys have your friends in the law faculty. You guys can go and have a chat with them. But basically, it's you listen to this side, you listen to that side, and then you look into the probability of whether that sexual harassment happens or not. So in the case of sometimes the consent issue, that will be easier to be taken into account under the balance of probability rather than burden of proof. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Miss Lilian. So I would like to ask Marina. So since according to the survey before, we're actually almost half of UM students are having have actually encountered with sexual harassment cases. So what do you think is the effect upon them when they have been sexually harassed?
The impact, you say? Sorry?
Yeah, the effect
Okay, the
towards them.
impact towards the victims or the perpetrator?
I was saying towards the victim of sexual harassment.
Okay, well, there's a lot of impact. There's this, I once harassment workshop by AWAM, and we did this exercise called the web of impact. So it's like a domino effect of one accident or scene or situation that happened in your life that causes a lot of perspective that would actually affect on you. Say for example, the victim who actually gone through sexual harassment by the perpetrator, he or she might feel very, he or she might feel scared to actually, let's say it happened in a school compound. He or she might be feeling very scared to come back to the school compound to face the perpetrator because they they are afraid that the incident would actually happen again, and they just want it to stop, and that causes the victims to gone through a lot of stress, maybe at some point down and panic attacks, and then concentrate in classes might deteriorate and causes he or her to drop out at some point of effects that actually
Okay, I'd like to add to that as well. Yeah. So the effects of the survivor, right? Like today, because we want to do a whole holistic talk about sexual harassment, right? So what happens to the survivor? Okay, next slide, please. As Marina said, right? Just keep clicking until everything shows up. Okay, great. So as Marina said, you'll be affected. You won't go to class anymore, and then you start to lose your friends. You start to lose hope in humanity, actually. And this is a real study. Yeah. If you're when you're a female, you will have issues maintaining a steady relationship when when you go out, when you're ready, when you're a old adult like me. But yeah, what I mean is it will affect you psychologically, and it might affect how your perception and your issues with trust towards the opposite sex later in life. And what some people, that if they don't when they don't manage sexual harassment properly, right, they get into a moral decline, which they start to do things like drugs, alcohol, and things that don't really benefit them. What about the perpetrator? What happens to the perpetrator uh, when sexual harassment happens? Next slide, please. Same thing, just press next and then all the way. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you think that the perpetrator will have it good? You're not wrong, because most of the reports that we read today, we don't see anything that happens to a perpetrator. They just like poof, and then everything, we try to move on and forget about everything. That's not the case. That's actually not the case. It's just that people always focus. It's just that people always focus so much on the victim that people don't want to think about the perpetrator. And this is what happens, right? So they are also affected. Okay, when you make the wrong decision, and I don't know why this circle is like that, but it's okay. When you make the wrong decision and then you go and harass someone and think you can get away with it, you can't, because once people start to talk about it, it'll be on you for your whole life. Okay, so we have cases that went to court, public cases of sexual harassment that that is in the news, that's in the court transcript. And what happens when it goes to court? It becomes public. You can just go online and find and just extract all these court transcripts. So it will be there for life, especially in the age of the internet, right? And the last one is, if the complaints are false, the accused will experience way more stressful psychological and physiological stress. Right. The next one, effects on the organization. When an organization does not handle sexual harassment properly, what happens to them? Of course, decrease in productivity and quality. Okay. Resignation will increase, which will cost the company money to hire, rehire, and train, and all that stuff. And of course, the image of the organization. A good example would be the case that happened with UM, right? You guys are familiar with that, right? You guys knew what happened, right? If you don't know what happened, I suggest you go and find out, or go and ask Marina, or do your homework and read a newspaper every now and then. It's not too bad. So anyway, what happens? So for a whole week, UM was all over the pages. UM was all over the papers, all over the news, for not handling. It's not even for not handling a sexual harassment cases. The news just pretty much said that a lecturer harassed a student and the student made a police report. So, and UM supposedly, out of 20 public universities in Malaysia, only 3 has a sexual harassment policy, and UM is one of them, and it's the best. It's the best in the country. But look at what you're doing, right? So that's the effect. That's a very good example of the effects of organization on the organization. Okay, so now what can we do? I think I forgot to answer your question earlier, right, Hussein? So if the person doing this magic slide can just quickly go to slide 35, 36. So I'm just jumping here and there because I have like a huge story of slideshows here, but we are not going to play everything today. So what can you do, right? You can tell the perpetrator that the behavior is not desirable. Now you can do this if this is a good friend of yours, and I suggest for men or anyone who openly have friends of the opposite gender, when you hear a joke or a story that you feel is offensive or has like a little palatable sexual harassment taste in it, step up, be an ally, and tell this person that, hey, I don't think it's funny. It's not a good example, but I always I like to say that I like to tell people that I don't think it's funny if you're talking about your mom, right? Mom jokes, right? So yeah, so stop stop the normalization. Okay, it's not a joke. If you feel that it's disgusting, just say, I think this is in bad taste. Come on, what if it was you instead, right? Next, if you can't talk to the person, write a letter. Write personally. I know writing pen, paper, quite ancient, but it might work, right? It might work. It might be effective because it's discreet. Okay. And also, one thing you can do is you can document the incident. How can you document an incident with evidence? Very easy. Same thing. You definitely need a pen and paper and an envelope for this, right? Write your incident. Write whatever that has happened to you as detailed as you can. Put it in an envelope. Mail that envelope back to yourself. Okay. So what happens is when you mail when you mail a letter, and then when you mail a letter and the letter comes back to you, right, it will be chopped by the post office. So you got your date there. You got a date certification there. Someone on a third party certified your date. And then when you get the letter, do not open it. Do not open that letter until you can submit, unless you can submit it as an evidence. So this letter should not be opened by you. It should be opened by maybe the police or anyone who's investigating your case. So this is how you verify things. This is how I was taught to verify my scripts when I wrote really good scripts and I want to make sure that it's mine, right? So that's what you do. You verify by sending the evidence back to yourself to get a third party timestamp. That's the most simplest way that I can tell you lah. Okay, next is share the incidents with friends, housemates, colleagues, and family members. This, like I emphasized just now, today we want to create good support system. However, I would also like to stress that please choose your friends and choose your support system carefully. You do not want to pick people who are neither here nor there to help you out, because it will just make the situation worse, right? Next slide, please. Okay, write a note about the incident, like I mentioned just now. If you want to make it evidence, mail it to yourself. Report the incident to appropriate authorities. Okay, although this is not the most popular, although this is not the most popular method, but reporting creates data for authorities like the police and NGOs like us to work together to push for a better redress in the situation of sexual harassment. If you don't report sexual harassment cases, we do not have the numbers to tell our policymakers that it is a problem. If you suffer in silence, how can we help you if you suffer in silence, right? You have to seek help. And one of the ways is reporting to the authorities so that we have tangible data to push the agenda to our policymakers. Okay? And lastly, claim your right to be updated on the case. Now, this is very close to University Malaya, because the situation with the survivor was she was not updated on her case. And according to your policy, she has every right to be updated on her case with a written non-verbally written update. So that didn't happen. So she has the right to demand for it, and that was not met. Okay, so understand those things, go through your policy, and yeah, I guess that should help.
Thank you, ma'am. Very well said again.
Yeah.
Like, I really hope that
thank you.
everyone pays attention to this, because first off, the gem you just dropped of mailing the letter back to yourself, I never knew of such strategy, but I can't think of a better way. So I hope that if anyone in the future goes through anything, does that, and goes through basically all the steps. Tell your friends, be open about it, let people know. Being silent wouldn't help anyone. Even though it is hard to speak out at times, you have to do it. It will be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. So besides what we can do, I would like to ask Marina, if a student wants to report a case, what is the first course of action that the student body will be taking?
Okay. I assume that the victim comes forward to the student union and actually ask for advice how to actually seek formal action on this situation that he or she is going through. So with that, normally what we'll suggest is the student union will have representatives to sit down with the victim and actually understand the situation. The victim still insists that he or she wants to take a formal complaint on the perpetrator. Then we would advise, for example, he still not sure of what step that needs to be taken, we will actually tell the person to actually go to the counseling office and seek advice of a more formal way to actually deal with this issue. And then the next step would be the person or the victim could write in an email to the integrity unit, the Bureau of Sexual Harassment committee who actually handle cases of sexual harassment like this. And from there, the bureau would actually tell them what exactly that they need to do to actually satisfy justice that they are being seeking for. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification, Marina. So basically, if you are a student, make sure if you want to meet up with the student union, they will be helping you to advise on how you can meet up with the counselor, you can meet up with the faculty. So yeah, do consult in the student union body. Okay.
Thank you. I would like to remind all our viewers on YouTube, if you have any questions, if you have any ideas, just put them in the comments. We will get back to them by the end of this, all right? My question is for Ms. Lillian again. So this is actually quite a loaded question, but I'm pretty sure you can handle it. So as part of society, what is the punishment? Like, what could be the punishment for sexual harassment? And of course, there's so many different types, there's so many intricacies into sexual harassment, but what can we do to punish these people?
Okay, sorry. Luckily I realized. Okay, so currently, under the penal code, you will be fined a hefty fine, and you'll be, sitting your butts in jail for a short while. You have a short stint in jail, and that is for the penal code. As for the Employment Act and the other acts, you have the possibility of losing your job, or yeah, actually just losing your job pretty much. What the standalone sexual harassment bill recommends is it's not only punishment, which is not only prison sentence or compensation towards the survivor, but the standalone bill also focuses on rehabilitation towards the perpetrator. So we'll just send you for counseling, kind of send you for therapy, if you will. Okay, because this is what we believe. We believe that things like sexual harassment can be you can educate that mindset. You can change that mindset. It's just about simple respect. Again, like I said, people commit sexual harassment because they can, because they feel they can. They go out of the way. This is an act that goes out of the way to make you feel uncomfortable. So definitely, it's beyond corporal punishment and everything. Okay, so we need more holistic methods to address it. So this is why we should pass the new Sexual Harassment Act.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anina?
Yeah, thank you. Yes. So, I will be asking Miss Marina. So, do you think that because according to our registration form, we have asked the participants on some of their views on sexual harassment, right? So they were asking that should sexual harassment perpetrators be expelled from the university? What do you think about this?
Yeah, so we are living in a society where harsh punishment is it's been there for thousands of years. So, but in my own opinion, that because uh, I believe the society is educatable. Everything, if there's a good education,
Hello, Miss Marina.
so,
Hello, I think we lost connection with Miss Marina.
oh,
Hello?
am I back online? Is it okay now?
Yeah, you're
Okay,
back.
sorry. I'll start over.
Yeah, you're back online.
So sorry. So we are living in a society where harsh punishment has been existed way before thousands of years. Where if someone did something, okay, imprisonment. But I personally believe that this kind of sexual harassment phenomenon is you can actually change the mindset of the people. Like what Lilian has mentioned earlier on, that if you educate correctly, the person will actually more able person to act more responsibly on what he on his own action. So if balance that mentioned that Lilian mentioned just now, if the perpetrator, if you think that the case is very very severe, then and it is a repeating action by the perpetrator, then maybe expulsion is an option. But if not, warning, a fine, uh, um, yeah, warning and fine and would be suffice to actually uh, make the victim to not repeat its wrongdoing. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the eyesight. So from what my understanding is, you say that it's better to educate these people, the sexual harassment perpetrators, and only if they are repeated offenses, then it's better to take a harsher punishment to them, right? Is it? Yeah, okay.
Right.
Thank you, Marina. I have a question for Ms. Lillian again. So, of course, no one can really protect themselves completely from sexual harassment. You can't. There's people even from where I'm from. I'm from Iraq, from the Middle East. There's women that completely cover themselves completely, and they still get sexually harassed. So I know this might be a hard question, but what are some steps or some just information that about like things that people can do in order to prevent that, in order to prevent being subject to sexual harassment? Is there anything you can do?
How about we focus about telling people to not harass people?
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know that. Yeah,
you've already said it yourself. You know, she's all covered up and everything. What else you want her to do? Stay at home,
yeah,
stay inside the house, don't go out at all. Even at home, she's being harassed by brothers or uncles or whatnot. You know, and I'm not just talking about a context in your country. I'm talking about in Malaysia as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
again, earlier, like I said, for the survivors, if you don't like it, you cannot keep quiet. Maybe it is time to stop keeping quiet. If you I understand it's very hard to voice out. It's very hard to say something. Uh, at that time, when it happens to you, I can understand that, but you have to take action. You have to take a proactive step at least. You know. So again, just now all the steps that I show you is either you write it down, or either you like tell someone about it, or you just go and make a discreet police report. It doesn't matter, but just don't sit down and keep quiet, right? And our focus should be more on ending the normalization of sexual harassment. Like I said just now, if you are with your, like Hussein, if you're with your group of friends and then your friends show you something like pretty gross, or or even if they show you a picture of a girl who dresses decent and then he says this, I wonder how she looks like underneath her clothes.
mm,
That's something that you can do. That is something you can take action, you can take a stance for. Like you can say that I wonder how it looks like in your pants, under your pants or something like that. You gotta fight back. We all
yeah,
have to be good allies. We have to focus on creating and educating people to create allies instead of keep thinking keep thinking of like 110 ways of how survivors can keep themselves safe, because it's impossible. I can wear a suit of armor and go outside and people will still find something to say to me and find something to harass me about, because that is it. That is the mentality of people, because again, sexual harassment happens because of power disparity. It's not necessarily about sex. People do it because they feel that they can, and society allows them to get away with it. So your question should be, how can we get society to not let people go so easily? Right? I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it's better if we add it's like the act of victim
Yeah,
blaming.
yeah,
So
we gotta stop victim
this
blaming. Yeah,
happened because of the victim. It's not because of the sexual harassment perpetrators. What we should do is educate them and not teaching the victim what they do
yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because what else can you tell the girls to
yeah,
do? Even boys as well. I mean, like boys. Okay,
Yeah.
if to the survivors of male survivors of sexual harassment, what can I say to you? Don't wear. I mean, what? Don't wear so tight pants. I don't know what. Like, don't be so good looking. What? What? you know? So yeah, it's about the perpetrator, not so much on the recipient. I mean, of course, there
yeah,
are certain like common things that we can do to keep ourselves safe, right? Like for
yeah,
example, when I did an activity with the management of the student union, we did an activity where they had to draw where they feel safe in the university, which part is the safest and which part is not. So if you already identify things like that, so you know that next time if you walk in a place that you feel unsafe, you can like call a friend with you, or just avoid that place completely. So that is acting smart, doing things, doing the right things, doing the smart things, doing the proper things to avoid the situation. But most of the burden should be on telling society to be an ally. Stop victim blaming, stop focusing on the survivors, and just be an ally.
very
Yeah.
well said. That was a very hard question, but we actually had it in the one of the people asked that question. But I
Mm-hmm.
guess that's what our goal should be. We should focus on the perpetrators and kind of get into their psyche and make people understand that you can actually make change in the micro level. You
Yeah.
can, just like you said, I can be with my friends and let them know, even if it's just two people, I can still educate those two people, and for the rest of
Yes.
their lives, they're never going to be in such a position where they are causing such pain on people. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's something you can look into.
Yeah.
Hanina?
Yeah, so I was asking Marina, in our registration form, we also asked the participants on what do you hope that the student body do. So they were hoping that since the case of that the student was being harassed by lecturers, right? So will the student body take any action in order to tighten the rules of sexual harassment in the university? Do you? Yeah.
Well, personally saying, the student body will always be championing, taking stand with the students, but we can only do so much to push the authorities to enforce these policies holistically, so that the environment for the students to actually come to the campus and study will be much more safer. But if there's no, if they don't take us seriously, if the integrity unit still think that this is not a serious issue, then I'm not so sure how we can actually uh, urge them to actually taken a much more in-depth journey to actually help the students in taking this matter more seriously. So, but so that maybe knock some sense into the the time is now dedicated teams that are not they are not juggling with too many tasks to actually focus on the incoming complaints that they've received and actually met the date that they have to actually resolve the issue in within 3 months. So yeah, we need a dedicated bureau to actually handle this. And again, the student union can only fight and champion for the students, but if the authorities or the UM upper higher ups doesn't take this issue seriously, then it's only going to fire back on the organizations. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Marina. So, for the hearing of our audience, so what Miss Marina said is the student body will be doing their best in order to push in order to enforce the sexual harassment sexual harassment act in the university. But the most they can do is just it is depend on how the university will be listening to them. So yeah. Okay, so also I want to ask Miss Lillian, there is some cases where sexual harassment cases are actually dropped due to the misconception of consent. What can you say about that?
Okay. Okay, I'm not. Okay, this is when this is what we are talking about, the balance of probability versus the burden of proof. Okay. So in like what generally people usually get very scared to make a police report, uh mainly due to well, not not only the police, they just scared to report because there's always that conception of uh suka sama suka, or in English, like and like. So when there's an equation of that, right? People tend to brush this crimes usually very easily, because you'll be like, oh well, you like this guy, you you agreed, you gave your consent, so it should be, what's the problem, what's the deal? So that is the common conception which hinders a lot of survivors to stop making a report. But you got to understand one thing, yeah. Consent, um consent can be given as easily as it can be taken. So when I consent something to you, let's say, for example, Hussein, if I consent to going out to have dinner with you, it doesn't mean that I want to go watch a movie after that. You got to ask me again, do you want to go watch a movie after this? You cannot force me to go to the cinema, and flash the tickets to my face and force me to go in there. It's the same concept. Okay. But unfortunately, the common misconception of the public is when you agree, or when I agree to go on for dinner with you, I should be agreeable to everything throughout whatever the plan is. But that is not the case. So people have to be educated about consent as well. Okay, and this is not just the public. Okay, even giving consent, because we Asians, right, we are always so obligated to appease everybody, to appease the universe except ourselves. We are so worried about upsetting someone who doesn't even feed us, someone who doesn't even give us money or pay for our education, but we are so scared about offending that person. We have to say yes all the time, even when we feel uncomfortable, because it's guilt. We feel guilty for some reason. This whole guilt thing is very heavy on our culture, but it's okay. You got to stop that. You got to stop thinking about guilt. If you yourself feel uncomfortable, instead of feeling guilty for everyone, right, try to stop for 5 seconds and try to feel that guilt for yourself when you do something that you don't like, which is worse, which is heavier, right? So uh we should be able to give consent without feeling fear or any repercussion. And we should also be able to receive or not receive consent as as normal mature adults. Okay, for some reason, some people just can't take no for an answer. So that needs to, that kind of mindset needs to have a little change. And that is also, like I said, because of the misunderstanding of consent, uh, people people tend to hesitate to give report. Okay, like couple that together with victim blaming, right? It makes females, especially female survivors, especially very, very difficult to go and make a report, to go and seek help. Yeah.
Very well said. Ms. Lillian, I have one more question regarding the effects. So, let's say a person goes through a sexual harassment case. They actually report it, and like you said, all they want is for it to stop, and the situation actually stops. It comes to an end. Everything's good, but after that, they start to experience trauma from the situation. Their mental health gets damaged from the situation. Maybe they're having PTSD whenever
Yeah.
they see any other person. Maybe they are hanging out with new people, but they are
Yeah.
judging them in the way that they looked at that other person. So what can you say about the people who have mental health damage from the sexual harassment incident that they've been in? How can they recover from that? What can they do?
Well, you can call AWAM at 016-237-4221. Yeah. Yeah. In all seriousness, that's what you
Yeah.
need to do. You need to seek professional help. So dealing with sexual harassment, as you said yourself, Hussein, stopping the incident is the first step. So what can you do for yourself after that, right? Self-help is very, very important. So a lot of people have many various way of dealing with their fears, dealing with their trauma, and everything that you said, Hussein, is very real, because people do get anxiety. The PTSD you're talking about is like anxiety. You might even be fearful of even small little things would trigger you, right? So you need to recognize all that. Recognize that you were a victim, now you're a survivor, and then you deserve help. You need to seek help. And if you have a taboo against mental health issues, it's time for you to get over it and recognize that maybe you need that kind of mental help. So there's a lot of avenues out in Malaysia now to get you some help. So one of it is AWAM. You can definitely call us, and we have professional counselors that are able to help you. Other than that, if you have the means, by all means, go seek uh, you know a more pricey a more pricey professional help, right? So just do what you can, do what you have to, but most importantly, you need to not be afraid in recognizing what is hindering you. It's not it's not a failure. Yeah, you have to remember that if it happens to you, if you're a survivor, you are not a failure. It's the system that has failed you. That's why you have to go out and seek help yourself, not the system comes to help you. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't be having this conversation. There would be no awam. We'll be living a happy utopia life, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's very important. I hope that people focus on that, the mental health aspect of it, because a lot of us grew up in these communities, at least for me, we never spoke about mental health. It was like you're either
Mm.
normal or you're completely crazy. There's
Yeah.
no in
Yeah.
between. But the in
Yeah.
between is very important. And that can, if you
Yes.
don't seek out help and seek out professionals like Awam, you can suffer your entire life, and you won't be the same after one incident, and that shouldn't be the case. Because of one incident, you might risk or waste your life, and that shouldn't be the case. You can just seek out professionals like Awam, and like Ms. Lillian said, if you have the resources, you can seek out something more pricey. But
Yeah.
either way, you just need to recognize it, and you need to, in a way, attack that thing and seek out all the help you can get to fix it and repair the damages. I think we can move on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Hussein, for concluding what Miss Lina had said. So I would like to ask Miss Marina. Okay, so from our registration form also, we found it that there is the case where a student is being sexually harassed, but if she reported the case, the sexual harassment perpetrator, which is higher up, will be uh doing a bad thing to her. For example, downgrading her grades, or maybe doing any other action that will be downgrading her. So, do you think that although it will affect her, it is better to report the case of sexual harassment for the benefit of the society? What do you think?
Well, to me, in any case, right, if someone assaulted you, you as a person who actually holds a self dignity needs to actually remove yourself from the uncomfortable situation and hold the person accountable. That's for my opinion, because I don't care if you are my father or you're my uncle. But if I feel disrespected at any point that I feel that I need to actually seek out and seek out for help, then I would definitely take proactive action to actually keep myself safe. But again, power and privilege. I think this one Lillian could actually explain more in depth and better than me. So maybe Lillian, you want to take over this question?
Okay, well, if you feel fearful to report in that situation, right? Again, same thing. Call us at Awam. Okay. Uh, Actually, that concern is very real. It's very, very real. Okay. So what you need is you need to come. You need to speak up. You need to speak up to the NGOs. Come to the NGOs, whether it's AWAM, WAO, WCC in Penang, if you're from Penang, or anyone all around the country. Okay, call us. tell us what happened, and then we will help you step by step. We will help you deal with the problem. We'll help you make a report if you want to make a report, of course. Okay, and more importantly, we will check in with your mental health. So it's the end. This is why AWAM NGOs like AWAM are here today. So I am not only here to talk to you to spread the good word about how to safeguard your community from sexual harassment. Okay, I'm also here to tell you that we are able to help you make a police report or do anything um, that will help you in your situation if you feel that you cannot do it yourself, if you feel helpless, because we are all helpless. All of us are helpless. I am also not. I am nothing. If I step out from our, I'm nothing. Okay, so do not hesitate to reach out and seek help. Again, like I said earlier, it is important to make a report because we, the police and the NGOs, we need to hear it. We need to hear that it's happening. If you keep quiet, we don't know, and then we cannot tell our policymakers that, hey, this is happening. So again, you need to make a police report. You need to make a report, an official report. It doesn't matter if it's to the police, to your bureau aduan, your complaints bureau or whatnot, your integrity unit. It doesn't matter if you come to AWAM. You just have to seek that support if you need it lah. If you have a good lawyer, if you have the resources, please by all means, call the best lawyer and just go whack their asses. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification, Ms. Lian. So basically, our audience, do speak up if you are being sexually harassed. If you are scared to do it alone, there is always an NGO, especially AWAM, to help you. So don't be quiet about any
Yes.
sexual harassment cases, okay?
Call us.
There's always anyone to help you. Yes. Okay. So there is also a question because sometimes this is sometimes men who are being sexually harassed are very much scared to report cases of sexual harassment. Since there is a question on the registration that say, since AWAM is an all women organization, can men also refer to you guys
Of course.
for any help?
Of course. We have been taking in male clients and male survivors recently. Of course, we are living in the world as it is. There's men, there's women. All of us, each of us have different roles, and we can only progress as a community, as a society, if we do this together. Okay. The truth is, everybody, like I said just now, right? Everybody. I think I said it before we went on live. I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure I said it at one point. But everybody thinks that sexual harassment is a female problem. Okay, the data shows it as well. Most survivors are women, right? But it's not. It's because that they are representation of men, but because we live in a patriarchy society, it becomes a double-edged sword for men. On one end, it normalizes men and their behavior as sexual harassers, and then on the other end of the scope, it disallows them to complain about sexual harassment. So that mentality has to change.
Yeah.
We have received cases about male sexual harassment. I think there was one that happened that happened in town not too long ago. It was in a newspaper. This guy got harassed in the MRT, in the public toilet in the MRT. So it does happen. It does happen. We just have to stop. We just have to also stop normalizing the fact that men should like being sexually harassed.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why.
I think it boils down to men. For us, it's like much harder to admit that because we don't want to seem weak to the rest that, oh, we experienced that. That's why they explain it in a way that, oh, it's okay, I don't mind it. But they actually do.
Yeah.
They just want to look like a victim. That's the problem.
And that's patriarchy for you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's a system. We've been living
Yes.
in it. It's a system. It's not any individual's fault. It's a system,
Correct.
and we're just pieces operating in it.
Correct. So how can you make a difference? You can just be different. You make a difference by being different. Do
Yeah,
differently. If
yeah,
normally you do like that, then maybe tomorrow after this talk you do something else.
yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we inspire people to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so I think we covered the most as much as we can regarding sexual harassment, and a lot of this is quite. Some of it is sad, some of it is encouraging, but I'd like to move into more of a good news. So 2 days ago, um, the sexual harassment bill was actually talked about and presented in the
Yeah.
parliament. So, can you elaborate on that, Ms. Lillian, regarding the
All
sexual
right.
harassment bill?
Yes. Okay. So yes, you were right. It happened on a Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, I
Yeah,
believe. So at 10 a.m., right? So it was the petition itself. The petition to table the bill was read by the member of parliament of Batukawan in Penang, which is a state in Penang, uh, YB Kasturi Pato. So Miss Pato read the speaker of our parliament gave her 10 minutes to read the petition that was produced by AWAM with the support of 512 Malaysians. So this was an incredible feat, incredible. We did not expect such overwhelming response. So prior to the paper petition, right, we launched a online petition on change.org. That itself, we had 17,000 signatures, 17,000 e-signatures. So we assume that's from all over the world, right? So we decided to, because of that huge voice, that huge need that demands for this sexual harassment bill, we decided to bring up a paper petition to the parliament, which is not done in Malaysia, and it's not done because nobody actually knows about it, but somehow we managed to find out that it can be done, so we did it. So we did a drive, we did a paper petition drive, and 512 Malaysians from all across the country, from Kanga to KK to Miri to Kuching to Johor Bahru, they all mailed in their petitions, and everybody in the not everybody lah, most people in the Klang Valley actually came to our office during the whole CMCO period. Okay, of course we kept the SOPs and everything, but we were so overwhelmed that people were coming, and they were not coming like individually. They brought their families, their fathers, their mothers, their brothers. That is what we want to see. That the male allies as well. And then we had the other NGOs as well to help us out, and of course not forgetting UN. I think I'm not really sure the number of students that signed the petition in UM, but um, we had great support from the students in University Malaya. We passed on some petitions and they just came back all in full. So at the end, we managed to gather 512 signatures from Malaysians for a bill that will essentially affect everybody in Malaysia, even if you're a foreign student, a foreign expat, anyone who is working or not working, if you're here on a holiday or not, against sexual harassment. So it was read. It was supposed to be passed. This bill was supposed to be passed 20 years ago, right? It was
wow,
created. Yeah, it's a 20-year process. So this bill was first created 20 years ago by WCC in Penang, the Women's Center of Change, Center for Change, and it was supported by AWAM. AWAM supported this for 20 years. We've been holding on to it, and because there are other priorities out there, other more pressing matters throughout the years, in the past 2 decades, the sexual harassment bill kind of keep taking a backseat, a backseat, a backseat, a backseat. But recently, we see a rise in sexual harassment. We see that it's becoming an issue. We see that during the pandemic, it's becoming a pandemic on its own. So
wow.
it's so now it's more than ever. And but prior to this, in our last election, um, the previous government, got so many previous government, I'm already confused myself. But anyway, the government after the election made a promise to uphold gender equality, and one of it was to pass the sexual harassment bill. So it kind of brought the bill out from the back seat for a while, and then here we are just pushing towards it. The whole pandemic, and then what happens during the pandemic with sexual harassment also um, kind of escalated this whole thing that we need it now more than ever. Yeah. So it's it is said to be tabled next year. It is now sitting in the office of the law ministry. We'll see what happens next year.
Wow, that's the bill is the same age as me. That's crazy. That just shows the
I know,
patience,
right?
you need to have.
Let that sink. Let that sink.
Crazy.
20
Yeah.
years old. But that's very long.
Yeah. I know. I was in school back then. That's how old I am.
That's crazy. That just shows you the patience you need to have to fight for these issues. It's
Yeah.
admirable.
Yeah. That's why it's very important to report, because one of the reasons why it is so difficult to push it to the policymakers is because we don't have enough data, we don't have enough case studies, we don't have enough awareness about what is sexual harassment. We normalize it so much that when it happens to a group of people, when it happens to not a group of people, when it happens to people, we brush it aside and go like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's what boys do. Live with it. The world is like that. The world is not like that if we
Yeah.
don't want it to be like that, Yeah.
Yeah, so because it's a good thing that the sexual harassment bill is being passed, because um these days people are taking sexual harassment as a joke. It's not actually a joke
Yeah.
actually. So yeah, we need to
Right.
take action against this, and it is a very good thing for the Malaysians especially.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that is Marina. Do you want to do you have any say about the sexual harassment bill?
No, I think Lillian pretty much covered everything.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a bit for the fact that there's people who actually goes to AWAM in order to pass on that's a very good that is a very new news to me now. Oh, so actually Malaysians are very much hoping to
Yeah.
push this bill.
Yes.
Mm.
Exactly. We even have signatories from organizations that just submitted in as well. Yeah. So it's not only regular Joes like like you and I or my neighbor next door or anything. No, it's
Yeah.
all over the country. Yeah.
Yeah, we also saw the link of the change.org, right? Then
Yes.
in your website, they also have many response. So yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Malaysians are very
17,000 in just a couple of weeks. It's crazy. Yeah.
yes.
Crazy. And
Yeah,
20
thank you for
and 20 years to pass a bill, not even pass it, just to like speak about it in parliament. And all of these
Yeah.
people are fighting, all of these people are rallying towards
Yeah.
this. It just shows you that everyone needs to play their part. You don't have to be working in an NGO to do this.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone has to play their part. Like there's literally a whole organization of people just working tirelessly to fix this issue. So just anything you can do with your friends, with your family to help out with this issue, just do it.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah. So
I
just a
hope
question
when you
from
sorry.
sorry, I was asking because I'm not a law student, right? So
Yeah,
after
it's okay. Neither am I.
we push the bill, after we push the bill, so next year the policymakers will be doing the policy for the sexual harassment act, is it? So then only then we can have the sexual harassment act being blessed to the people of Malaysia, right?
So what's going to happen? So right now we have already drafted the bill. The bill is already the bill is already ready. That piece of document
Okay.
is already ready. So so it was a special task force that involves the NGOs, stakeholders from government, private sector, and then of course us NGOs, right? So what happens now? After the bill has been drafted, it will be sent to the, the the Ministry of Law, the AGC chambers, and then it will be reviewed. And once it's reviewed, it will be tabled into the parliament. It will be discussed, debate, and whatnot. And then the member of parliament can vote for it. And
Understand.
yeah, and at the moment we are very certain that this bill is definitely bipartisan because everybody supports it. Everybody, all political parties supports this bill.
That's amazing.
Okay. So the possibility to be passed is very high. Yay!
Yeah,
So
yes, very likely.
so yeah, that is all for our explanation on the sexual harassment in higher education. So we'll be moving on to the Q&A session right now.
Yes, Q&A.
Yeah.
Throw
So
the
let's
question.
see what our viewers from YouTube are saying. So
Come on,
there's
guys.
this one question from Aisha, I think. Yeah. So can we have the question shown? Okay. So the question is: so simping is a type of physiological harassment. Okay. So if you guys don't know what simping is, so I'll be reading the Google definition. Okay. So so simping is actually a slang for men to actually be too attentive and submissive to a woman that he adores. So usually from what I usually this simping is usually used on social media, like, oh, I sim her, I sim him, something like that. So do you think that actually simping is actually a harassment towards the person who is being simped?
Miss Lynn, before anything, I'm sorry for our generation. I'm just sorry. I
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that was exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, oh my god, it's like, wow, what are you young people
Yeah.
up to nowadays?
I
Because
apologize.
yeah,
Because
because
it is
from I've been following the social media, and usually what simp is used for are the celebrities, right? And then suddenly it goes to personal. So yeah, do you think that it's considered as a sociological harassment, part of
so
sexual
Marina,
harassment?
do you want to represent your generation and answer that
Yeah.
first? While I'm still processing this, trying to figure out like who likes what, who likes who.
I think in this context, Aisha Ramli, I think what she wants to bring the sort of idea to the audience is, I don't know if you guys have watched the Netflix movie of 365 Days, where this yeah, this mafia boss who found a girl, a woman that he had dreamed about, and finding the woman in real life made him wanting to submit himself to this woman. So that's the meaning of the simping that Aisha would like to bring forward to the table, I guess. So is that considered as psychological harassment, or layman terms sick, right? So for me, I think in to a certain extent it is a psychological harassment. Yeah, I'm not so sure how Awam would actually see this through, but yeah, maybe Lillian, you want to take this over?
No, actually, you're doing fine. Actually, so I'm glad Marina learned something from our session. She's right. She's right. It is a form of psychological harassment if the recipient is not comfortable. So I'm guessing, like, if you are the person who's doing the okay, I'm trying to understand. Um, okay, so who?
Simping.
Yeah. So the guy who does all, I mean, the person who does all these things, simple, I don't know, right? Uh, they may be comfortable doing that. They want to do that. They feel that, they may get something doing that, but it is a psychological harassment if the recipient does not like it, right? So if I mean, I'm reading the definition on Google and everything. Some people may find it flattering, but it is a sort of harassment if you are not comfortable with someone doing all these things for you. Not
Yeah.
everybody likes the attention, and not everybody needs this undying attention, which is a bit creepy, I feel.
But
Yeah.
if I may just ask, but then in the end of the movie, the woman actually falls in love with the mafia boss. So
That's
does
the
that
problem with
actually?
mass media. That's the problem with mass media. They romanticize it. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys, okay? When someone keeps persuading you, it doesn't if you're not comfortable, you just say, and like draw your line and just tell them that please don't do this. It's not comfortable. I understand, okay, if the guy is good looking or if the girl is good looking, y'all will give your consent. I understand, all right, but please do not confuse your own discomfort with the expectation of what is expected of you to feel for this person who's always who's being persistent.
Yes. That's
Dating
very
is
important.
difficult, dating is hard, You guys have to just do it to experience it. I can't help you with that.
Yeah.
We can call our
Okay. Okay. So basically, to conclude, it's basically if it bothers you, it is considered as a sexual harassment. So let's move on to the next question.
Thank you. I
So there's a question from thank you, Aisha. There's a question from Art Kila. Can you see? Okay. What can we do to educate other family members about sexual harassment? As some likes to take joke about this issue. Okay. So Miss Lilian or Marina, which do
Uh,
you? Marina, you wanna take this? Okay, Miss Lilian. Okay.
no, I think Marina should answer this first. Yeah, I'll back her up.
Ayo, Lilian.
Come on,
uh,
it's like peer to peer. This is good for your peer-to-peer, training. Did she intentionally freeze herself?
Hello, Marina.
I think oh my god, she intentionally frees herself, didn't she? Okay, while she unfreezes herself, it is very difficult to talk with your older family members because the older you get, the more jaded you are, and the less skin you have, the less shameless you be. Okay, and it's very difficult for old people to accept. I'm just gonna say the very classic line. Okay, it's very difficult to teach old dogs new tricks, right?
Mm,
So what can we do?
drop the
We
mic.
don't have to. Yeah. We don't have to be rude to them, but we can keep defending our stance. Uh, we don't they might use like many different kind of defense mechanism that says that includes that we are disrespecting them and everything, but please bear in mind that when you stand up and try to change the mindset of someone, you are not being disrespectful for anyone, especially to your fellow mankind. It is very difficult to change the minds of the older generations. But if you have the opportunity, you should take it. If not, um, just let them be, man. Just let them be. Their time
Yeah.
is not going to be long anyway, right? I mean, no, you got to say something. But I understand. I understand how difficult it is. I understand, especially in the Asian context, right? So if you have the chance, do it. Speak up, or at least if you don't, if you don't dare to speak out directly, maybe talk to a family member who can talk to that person, right? Like if it's your uncle, maybe talk to your cousin and say, hey, I think your dad's cool and all, but I don't think this is cool. Or talk to your aunt, like, uh, I'm saying this with all the love in the world, but this is making me uncomfortable. Things like that. I'm sure it's manageable.
Very well said. Let's take
Yeah.
another
Marina?
question.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Lilian. Marina's
Feel free
Yeah,
to
muted.
she's right.
Marina, you okay? Yeah. Okay. I think that since we don't have much time, so we'll be all going to the next question. This is question by Junjun. Can we show it? Okay. So how can we support or help the victim, and through what platform can we help them? Okay. Since I think this question is more to peers, so I think Miss Marina, you can take this question.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, you were saying?
yeah, we're saying that how can we support them or help the victim? Because usually what I see is the support is going through social media and exposing the sexual harassment predators. Do you think that is actually a good action?
No, no, never take it out on the internet because we need to properly assess the situation. We don't know whether who is telling the truth. But we don't even know if this is a false report. So I really suggest that in either parties, if you belong to the perpetrator party or even the victims, either way, you need to advise them, do what's right, and avoid making the situation even worse. And I cannot stress this enough that a strong emotional support system is what makes these people who are in the predicament or the hardship of this situation to push them through and make this the case to be successfully resolved. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. Okay, so I think we can take another last question. Is it right,
I
Kusin?
think I have one more thing to say about this. I think
Okay.
you can also help the victims indirectly in a way that you can, in between your friends, as we mentioned before, in between your friends, in between your family. You can always talk about it. You can always spread the awareness about it. If you see anyone doing something that can be put under the umbrella of sexual harassment, you can stop them, you can advise them, things like that. It doesn't have to be direct. Indirectly, you can also help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, there
For
was
sure.
another question that I really liked. Can you
Yeah,
read from
I
Perwera?
think I saw
Perwera
that.
Negara. It's up top. No, from Perwera. Perwera Negara. It's the first question that was asked, I think. I will read it. Good afternoon. I strongly believe that comprehensive sexual education should be made a compulsory subject and taught at school. Ms. Lane, what do you think of that?
In some schools, in certain urban areas, it's already been taught. Sexual education is, of course, definitely we are very big on that. It should be compulsory. However, it is also another thing that we've been battling for years now, because it's just very difficult to get to it's just very difficult for us to talk about sex in general in schools. Parents do not want their kids to be learning from other people, even if it's a school. Okay, but rest assured that in Malaysia, there are basic sex education in I think in biology and certain and in science and your physical health, your PE classes, your physical exercise classes. However, I think sexual education in this context here is a little bit more detailed. It's a little bit more of more of the reality of what's happening and the social aspects of sex and in our society and whatnot, right? So it is true. However, sex education is just one step into eradicating all these things, because apart from sex education, you need other things as well. You need society to stop normalizing certain behaviors. You need society to stop the patriarchy way of life and everything. So it's sex education is just the first step. It's a big step, but it's still the first step. It's not enough. As much as I strongly believe as well. Lah.
Yeah. Can take another question. Nor is if a person
I
had
think this will be
sexually
the last
harassed,
question.
if a person had been sexually harassed when he was young, and because of a certain event that made him remember it again now, what steps do you suggest for him to take?
Okay. Okay, so in Malaysia, right, we have what is the statute of limitation for sexual harassment, and it exists in the Employment Act, unfortunately, only in the Employment Act. All right, and the statute of limitation is 30 days within the complaint. For the penal code, I think it's I don't think there's any. Yeah, or I think it's 6 years or something like that. But how to deal with it is you can call us 016 237 4221. The number is on the screen right there. And now I'm just waiting for someone to be done talking. Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, so in Malay, like I said, in Malaysia, for sexual harassment, the statute of limitation is only 30 days, and that is if you are a employer or if you're an employee of an organization in Malaysia. As for everyone else, it's according to the penal code. If I'm not mistaken, it's 6 years, but I could be wrong. You can go and chat with your friends at the law faculty about it. But if you have an old case that you remember and you need help with it, you can call us at the number on your screen right now. Okay, and it's the same with ha ha ha, yeah, I exist. Your question, although we do not get to answer it, but if you have any issues, you can always call us. Yeah, distant family. Yep. Call AWAM. That's my answer to you.
Yeah, I think this will be the last question, and we'll be concluding our forum for today. Okay, so we would like the platform masters to show the feedback form. Hello, can we show the feedback form? Yeah, well, we're waiting for the platform masters to show the feedback form. So we are very much thank you for the audience for today for joining. Do fill in the feedback form, because from there we can give your e-certificates through your emails, and we would also like to okay, the feedback form is in the comment section. Do check it, and also we would like to have your opinion on what we can fix on the forum for today. So yeah, we would very much thank Ms. Lillian and Ms. Marina for their insights on sexual harassment in higher education. Yeah, thank you very much. We learned very much. We learned very much today. Remember, do speak up if you have any sexual harassment cases. If it's not happening to you, do speak up for your friends and ensure them that speaking up is not a bad thing to do. It is actually beneficial for you in order to overcome your trauma, and not only for your benefit, it is also for the benefit of the society. Okay, so Hussein, do you have anything more to add?
I'm happy. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, for coming here. And I hope this doesn't just end here. It's still a
Yeah.
long journey. You can see, like, AWAM has been fighting this since 1985. They're still going on. You can see Miss Lillian is like doing work while she's doing this. So everyone is still fighting. This is a long process. I hope it doesn't end here. Nonetheless, there was a lot of gems today. We learned a lot. I hope it's a small spark and you just keep building on it. So we hopefully not reach utopia, but get close. That's it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
We'd like to thank Miss Lynn again and Miss Marina. Do you have any last words before we end? Miss Lynn, do you have any last words?
Well, thank you for inviting us today, and definitely this is not the last thing we will do with University Malaya. In fact, I have another talk with University Malaya tomorrow. Yes. So especially like we need support, especially from the youth of today, like you guys, because you guys are the game changer. You cannot we might not be able to change our minds, but you can still change your mind. So that's very important, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
Miss Marina, do you have anything? Any last words?
Yeah, thank you for having me today. It's been an honor. I hope I'll be continuing advocating for the students in fighting for sexual harassment justice and bringing a safe compound environment to the students. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for your words. Okay. So I think that is all from us. So thank you very much for listening to our forum today. Thank you.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.